Within Black Ops Cold War, we are presented with a new storyline known as the Dark Ether storyline. Whilst there are already a myriad of videos explaining the story so far, these may often leave people without a solid basis for why things are happening. In this video, I will endeavour to give you just that. I'm Cal, welcome to CODS, and here is the essentials. To understand this storyline, its namesake would make a good starting point: the Dark Ether. To understand exactly what it is, we first have to examine the cosmology of the prior storyline. In the beginning, we can surmise that nothing was physical. In this void there was the ether and the Dark Ether, with the former aligned to stasis and creation, and the latter more aligned with change and destruction. In amongst this was a singular being, known as the First One, who began using the energies of the ether to forge physical dimensions and the life within, including a race of beings just like him. Eventually, after the time of the First One had passed, a group attempted to use the energies of the Dark Ether to create a device of ultimate power, slowly becoming corrupted by these energies in the process. At some point, a new member was brought into this group, one who fans of the old story would eventually come to know as the Shadow Man. A war broke out between this small faction and the rest of their race, and they would ultimately lose and be banished to the Dark Ether. From here, they would no longer be only slightly corrupted, but were at the mercy of the Dark Ether's full power. They became twisted and grotesque, and assumed a hive mind mentality. The most powerful and most corrupt of them would assume titles of Elder Gods or Overlords. With the end of Tag to Toten, the Ether is seemingly destroyed wholesale, and a singular new world is created, with Sam and Eddie being sent there to live out a normal life. All that was marred by the Ether is sent to the Dark Ether, where, over time, they too would likely become twisted, possibly with the intent that eventually they would become no more. Unfortunately for the denizens of this new world, however, the barrier between their world and the Dark Ether is breached. Formed in the 1940s by Dr. Ulrich Vogel, a particle physicist, Project Endstation was an attempt by Nazi Germany to achieve high levels of uranium enrichment in order to produce nuclear weapons. Key to this was a particle accelerator, or cyclotron. For unknown reasons, however, during a routine test, the cyclotron's systems became unstable and forcefully perforated the dimensional barrier. The resultant anomaly was little more than a pinprick. However, all men in the room were immediately rendered necrotic, yet still mobile, living dead. In the coming days and weeks, Vogel and his assistant Kurtz began what was dubbed exoscience, with the Latin word exo literally meaning outer or external. Experiments revealed that the reason for the horrifying state the men had been placed in was a strange element found all over their body. The team at Endstation dubbed it Exo Element 1, or Ethereum. It is important here to note that Exo Element 1 is not Element 115 from the old story, though it is intentionally similar. If rocks of Element 115 were batteries for the energies of the Ether, then shards of Exo Element 1 are batteries for the energies of the Dark Ether. As the Red Army advanced and Germany quickly lost its footing, the scientists at Endstation seemingly vanished, with only one being seen in the days after, having fled the facility. When the Soviets reached this facility, they found a strange anomaly and encountered the undead. This was caught on film. Shortly after, a division was dispatched to turn off the cyclotron and seal the facility. Spetsgruppe Omega was founded as an autonomous and highly secretive division of the KGB in order to explore possibilities of unconventional and paranormal warfare. This was largely unsuccessful until the recovery of a tape within the KGB archives in the 1980s. This is the very film that detailed the Soviet expedition into Project Endstation 40 years prior. A Dr. Alexandra Valentina proposed that the phenomenon shown was, in fact, a dimensional breach, and shortly after she was sent with a team to the ruins of Project Endstation to investigate the site, accompanied by American defector Dr. William Peck. Dr. Valentina theorized that if this dimensional breach could be re-established, more would begin to manifest around the world, with Omega Group being able to exploit them and open up previously unthinkable avenues of science. This was dubbed Operation Undertaker. Though initially skeptical, Dr. Peck was forced to acknowledge Dr. Valentina's vision, as her theory proved totally correct, and Omega Group was able to proceed with the next stage of their plans. Samantha Maxis, now an adult with a history in international espionage, obtains a tape from a contact within the KGB and sends it to Gregory Weaver, her CIA contact. From there, everything changes. With the CIA suitably disturbed by the contents of the tape, the Office of Requiem is established with an unknown director at its head. He then hand-picks certain individuals to lead the respective divisions of this organisation, with Weaver himself designated as Field Ops Lead. After initially combating anomalies that had begun to manifest around the globe, Requiem locate the place depicted in the tape, Project End Station. It was clear that Omega Group had recently been there, though equally recently had left, having succeeded in their goal. Requiem's strike team succeed in destroying Project End Station and the dimensional breach there. However, ultimately, they are still drastically behind Omega and their ever more twisted research. In Firebase Z, Requiem and Omega will once again clash in an effort to gain the upper hand in the Cold War. All the while, far darker forces lurk just beneath the surface.